an earlier video than I would typically do during the day. Anyways, so yeah, first time I've never been able to complete the job. Like, and I've cut for hundreds of people with my wood misers. Um, yeah, last week I was on a job. Hydraulics were acting funny. I did a few adjustments. Had an hour of cutting. Hydraulics went completely out, so I wasn't able to complete the job. 100% super frustrated. I'm a little frustrated at the moment. So that's kind of what happened. So last week I had a job scheduled. I was out in Piedmont, Oklahoma, cutting a bunch of logs. You know, I cut 20 logs before the sawmill went dead. It was really small logs, maybe 15. So a bunch of small cedar. And then there's a bunch more out there that I have to cut. So I wasn't able to complete the job because the hydraulics went out. So I called Wood Miser multiple times when I was out there. And whenever I brought it to the storage, I put a voltmeter on it, and I came to find out that my solenoid for my hydraulics, whenever it hits the copper strip, went out. So I don't have an extra solenoid on hand. I could have potentially tried to find one in the city. My refrain from wanting to do something like that is I find this as a really big asset to me, and I wouldn't want to damage it. So putting the wrong solenoid in this machine, I wouldn't want to damage anything. So it's worth the wait to order it from Wood Miser. But here's the thing with Wood Miser, which is very frustrating. Okay, I love Wood Miser, but we gotta just stop. So Wood Miser, I called Wood Miser last week and ordered the solenoid, and I asked him when I was going to be able to expect to have this part, and he says maybe Friday, Monday. Okay. It was weird because I didn't get an email with the shipping confirmation and tracking number, so I was like, I found that to be a little odd. I called today, they still haven't shipped it, so a little frustrated because I was expecting to have the part yesterday at the very latest. So I do not have an extra solenoid. I'm waiting for the solenoid to come in. Once it comes in, I'll put it in. Both my customers are completely happy. The person that I was on the job, a bunch of cedar logs, smaller cedar logs, they were completely understanding. I completely ate the setup fee for that day, which was $150. There was only an hour of cutting, so that's a $150 tab that they still have with me. So next time I bring the machine out, they'll get the $150 setup, and then they'll pay the hourly rate. There'll be an additional hour tacked on to the failed venture that I tried to finish the job, and I wasn't because the sawmill hydraulics went out because of the solenoid. So they're completely fine, understanding, happy. I had a guy scheduled for, this is all I do is cut wood for people, okay? So I cut wood for people and then I sell wood. So I had a guy also scheduled the very following day, which I really like to do. I like to cut wood for people, cut logs for people, and schedule another job for the very next day because my truck is fully prepared for the job to make the job happen. So if I can line up a couple jobs in a row, that's what I really like to do. So I had that in place. I was cutting Tuesday, and I was going to go to Norman to cut Wednesday. And Sawmill broke, so I wasn't able to complete the job. First time I've not completed the job. Very frustrating, but things do break, and the solenoid broke. So it should be in here in the next few days. As soon as it's in, I'll schedule those guys out, and I'll go finish the job. After I cut for these two people, and I have like a third person that wants me to cut for them also. There's a few people that are waiting for me to cut because they're, let's say they're getting their trees together. So they're currently still cutting trees down on their property and getting the sawmill set up, ready for me to come onto the property. So there's quite a few different people like that I talk to on a weekly basis that will have me, cut logs for them. But as of right now, there's only two people on my schedule ready to eat logs, and I can't achieve those goals because the sawmill is broken. So very looking forward to getting this sawmill up and running. Maybe one day. I have two different sawmills. So let's say if this sawmill is broken, I would still have another sawmill to go out and complete the job. So that's not currently in place. I do have a second sawmill. It's a Lucas mill. It's not effective and efficient to cut logs because the kerf, it eats too much wood. So whenever I use the Lucas mill, which is right behind you, it will cut big logs, so 76 inches wide by 20 feet. So it's kind of like a personal mill. I had somebody reach out to me a few weeks ago, and they want me to come to Texas. So this guy wants me to, I don't care, Baker, great guy. I would love to come out there. The only thing is that's a 3-hour drive, 3-hour drive back. You're looking at like $750 in setup fees. I charge $150 an hour for my wood miser. I've not really ever cut for people with the Lucas Mill, and I would say that the workload on the Lucas Mill is 10x harder than it is with the hydraulics and stuff with the wood miser. So you're looking at around $200 an hour, which might seem crazy. I'm not trying to advertise that price to cut wood for people with the Lucas Mill. I'm just trying to come up with a price. This guy really wants me to cut wood for him. So I kind of had in my head that it's going to cost this guy around $4,000 minimum for me to bring my Lucas Mill out, cut 8 logs for him. You're looking at around $500 a log. You might exceed the $4,000 situation, but you're not going to go under. The only way it's worth my time to bring my trailer, my 24-foot trailer, Lucas Mill, everything ready to cut a bunch of logs, buy $1,200 or $1,300 worth of chains before I come out there. It'd have to get a $4,000 minimum. So that's kind of what I came up with. I don't think he's willing to spend that much because I kind of told him like that's what it'd be. Like I have to answer the question. The guy's reached out to me multiple times. He wants me to cut wood for him in Texas, massive logs, and I would love to, but like I'm not really advertising my services to go cut big logs for people. The reason I bought that machine to cut big logs is to cut my big logs. I like cutting my big logs, my big walnut logs. The reason I bought this machine and the wood miser I had before it is to cut my logs. So the compliment is that you cut other people's logs. People reach out to me, they need me to cut their logs. I love cutting logs for people. I absolutely love cutting logs for people with the wood miser, not with the Lucas Mill. I can't really, it'd have to be $200 an hour with the Lucas Mill if you're wanting me to cut logs for you. And it'd have to be a minimum. So that's the situation, that's the ramble. Sawmill's broken right now. So once the hydraulics failed last week, you couldn't do anything. So the claw of this machine that turns my logs, you can't lift it up. I could have bled the hydraulic lines to get it up higher. I didn't want to do that because that's another situation that I'm gonna have to deal with once I fix this solenoid. I couldn't raise up this clamp. It's 4 or 5 inches from the ground. So if you were on a really, say the terrain that you were like stuck at with this machine like this, there is a chance that you probably have to bleed those lines and pull those things up. But this was very close, all pavement road. All these mechanisms are right next to my axle, so it's really hard to high center or knock any of those loose. I felt comfortable driving home. It was a 12-mile drive. I had to put a strap. I always have straps in my truck. Anytime I bring this Sawmill out, I always bring straps. That's a must. I strap this down because this typically comes up all the way. This chain hooks in there to lock it down. You're able to, kind of torque things down and lock everything down. But with the hydraulics being out, you really have to secure it, with straps. So I put a strap on here, strapped it right here, strapped it down. I flip the engine and the power feed and all this stuff works. So the engine will turn on, the sawmill will go up and down the rail. I just can't use the hydraulics. That's a major issue for a hydraulic sawmill when the hydraulics are out of order. You can't cut wood. Now, there are a few things that I could potentially do. I could take a solenoid for one of the pumps. I have 2 hydraulic pumps on this machine. I could take one of those solenoids and I think I could potentially put it in here if I need to really get the job done. That's a lot more work that I'd be creating for myself, so there's no need for me to do that. This is going to be a short video. Sawmill broke. I'm in the process of fixing it, waiting on wood miser. I'm really disappointed that, I was under the impression I was going to get the part Friday or Monday. And the fact that it's just now being sent today is pretty frustrating. The kids go back to school next Thursday. I don't have much desire to cut wood. I was expecting these jobs to be done. I have multiple people right now that are ready for me to come onto their property. They have thousands of acres. This one guy has 2,000 plus acres. And we're going to come onto their property and we're going to cut a bunch of walnut trees, okay? He's going to take half the material, I'm going to take half the material. I'm going to fall a bunch of walnut trees, he's going to fall a bunch of walnut trees. He has tractors, skidsters, all these different things to accommodate the, operation, and we're gonna cut a bunch of wood. So I'm looking forward to that. I need to get this machine all ready to go. I also probably want to spend $1,000 on extra parts. So I have every belt for this machine. Any belt that is on this machine I have a drive belt on hand. I want to get $1,000 worth of parts on this machine that could potentially fail and prevent me from accomplishing my goals. I want to have those parts on hand at all times. I have an extra motor right here. I don't use this drag back. I'm thinking about buying an extra motor. I want to buy an extra motor. I want to buy some bearings. I have wheel bearings right here. I want to buy a few different things for this machine so I can just always be ready to eat wood. The fact that I was not able to complete the job the other day is unacceptable. I'm a little frustrated about that. So anyways, God bless you guys. Keep grinding. Thank you so much for following along. I have like 1,980 subscribers. So maybe we can get to 2,000 subscribers. Maybe a few thumbs up for this video. This is all I do is cut wood for people, cut wood for hundreds of people. Thank you so much for subscribing. Yeah, if you want to see more content of the Wood Miser, like eating logs, I have thousands of videos on Instagram, Wood by Wicks. And yeah, I love cutting wood. I can't wait for the machine to be up and ready. God bless you guys. Keep grinding, and let's see. You got any questions? What are you doing? I'm gonna fix the sawmill as soon as the part goes in, but it's not here. So, yeah, Wood Miser looks pretty brand new. So I have a coat of oil on the entire machine. Every time I go cut wood for people, I like to get the machine all cleaned up. Whenever I do cut customers' logs, there's a lot of bugs in these logs. Because majority of the time, these logs have been sitting on the ground for a long time. I cut these logs up for these people. There's bugs all over my machine. I take it to the car wash, spend $5. I like to blow it all off, and then I like to oil it up. So I do put more water on my machine than a typical person that has a Wood Miser. Water is not good for a machine. Okay, I want to make that 100% clear. Water can induce rust. There's things that can fail quicker if you do have water involved. Like my rollers are going out probably like every 200 hours because I probably throw a little bit more water on my machine than most people. That's why I like to have extra rollers and bearings on hand for whenever that does happen. This was completely unexpected. Let's show you the part that failed. Okay. So this is what failed. This solenoid right here. Negative battery cable is disconnected, so you can touch this stuff. But I put a voltmeter right here. There's no power to it whenever you turn the key on or anything, or even hit that copper strip. So I did lots of diagnosis through eventually finding out that was the issue. I got this all cleaned up. This is all black, so I have a hydraulic leak, which is a little unfortunate. This just comes right off. So sometimes when your hydraulics fail, okay, this is the thing that will fail. You see this little switch right here? Okay, that will fail. You can adjust this. It can go up and down. So you need to make sure you hear that click. Okay. Once I knew this part was working, I knew that wasn't my problem. Okay. I'm not an expert with electricity. I was never able to pull power from these. Okay. Even when I had my situation over here to this copper strip, this has to be touching this copper strip for this to be working, for your hydraulics and everything to be working. So whenever this copper strip comes in contact with this, that's when you can use your hydraulics for the sawmill. You can override that if you were to rig it up where you didn't have to do that. It's a safety measure so your hydraulics don't get bumped whenever you have a log clamped up and you're eating wood. So yeah, this part failed. This is in the mail and I'm looking forward to coming in. Anytime you work on the Wood Miser, like I've done lots of welds on this machine, you have to disconnect the negative battery cable. Okay, you don't want to fry any of the computer situations. Okay, like there was some rust right here, so I just I sprayed this with some paint. You can see that's kind of bubbling right here. So there's some wear and tear on the Wood Miser. I just recently repainted this, so let's show you. And since we're over here, we can show you a few things. So I just repainted that. Okay, fresh coat of paint. Nothing perfect, but it was rusty. Didn't like that. Here's some cookies. This is all dry wood. Can we stretch you out? And then, yeah, that's the wood miser. God bless you guys. Keep grinding. And, yeah, favorite chainsaw is going to be right here. If you're wondering what I like to use, 661. Favorite piece of wood is going to be right here, if you want to see that. Red elm burl, you know, there's eyes all over this thing, so it's pretty sick. I've had this for quite some time. Let's tell you the story on this before I leave. I saw an old man in 2021, no legs, picking up branches in his front yard, okay, of this tree. I knew this tree was burly. I stopped by, I told him I wanted to cut this tree down. Well, it just was the same time as an ice storm, so I cut the tree down. I felled it on 23rd Street. I knew it was all burly. I sliced it up, and that's the story of that piece of wood. Every piece of wood has a story. Some of them come from an urban environment. Some of them, like, that's a branch of a bigger tree. That's not a tree. I don't like cutting down small diameter trees. The person in Norman that I'm cutting for, so I have 2 sawmill jobs on the schedule as soon as I get this wood miser up and running. The person in Norman has some smaller diameter walnut trees, and he insisting me to cut them down. So I'm going to cut them down. He's a landowner. He wants me to cut them down. So I will be cutting a few smaller walnut trees down as soon as I go out there. Looking forward to cutting. I'm looking forward to going out to a few different counties in my state, cutting a bunch of walnut with a few different people. So God bless you guys. Keep grinding and enjoy your day.